Stampers, it's Christine from Christine Stamping Spot. Happy Monday, happy November again. November the 8th. Wow, we're just flying through this month. So today I wanted to take a look at this Happy Holidays stamp set. You can find this in the Fall Mini and it's on page 27. It's this stamp set. And it's actually sold as a bundle with a punch, with a holly border punch. So I just wanted to quickly show you how we use that border punch. In case some of you are a little bit unfamiliar with it, this is what it looks like. And sometimes people can have a little bit of trouble lining up these holly leaves and things like that. So just a quick tip, I just pulled a piece of scrap evening evergreen cardstock. So when you use this punch, what I do typically is either you can just sort of center it and start punching, or you can turn it around and just see where your cardstock is. Make sure that it's lined up with these holes here. Okay, make sure that it's right flush pushed against this border here on your cardstock. And then you're just gonna give it a punch. And when it comes out, it's gonna look like this. Now, if you wanted to keep going, even if you had a longer piece of cardstock, what you do to line that up, you can see on the punch, they have these silver images of the holly. So all you're gonna do is the pieces that have been punched out already, you're just gonna line those up here so that the silver shows through. And then you're going to give it another punch. And that way you have your holly just continuing all the way along and it's evenly spaced. So this is a good way to add some nice borders to a card or a scrapbook page that you're doing. Even you could do it as a belly band and then wrap it around certain treats or a certain little gift that you want to give somebody, and you could easily just put a piece of other cardstock behind it just to fill in those leaves, or put it on the back of on top of a different color so that holly shines through. So that's just a little bit of a lesson. And then here, with all the stuff that we've punched out, you actually have like some confetti going on. So you could keep these pieces and use them in a shaker card if you wanted. You could punch them out of different colors, let's say red and white still, and then you'd have different colors of holly confetti, and you could put those into a shaker card as well. So just a couple of different uses for that punch, and it does come, like I said, as part of the bundle with this particular stamp set that we're using today. Okay, so the project we are making is this one. I love little birds at Christmas. I think they're cute, although this one isn't so little. It's a little bit bigger. But I thought we would give this a try. And we're going to also use these Pinecone dies as well that are in this card. Okay, so let's get started. So I've started with a piece of evening evergreen, 8.5 by 5.5. You're just going to fold that in half like usual, and you can decide on the orientation whether you would like it this way or this way. So I think we'll stick with it this way. And then I added a piece of Sahara sand, 5.25 by 4, and I will post all these measurements as well. So we're going to add our Sahara sand on top of the evening evergreen. And then I cut out another layer. This is actually from the Peaceful Prints Designer Series paper that was part of our recent celebration promotion. Unfortunately, it's no longer available, but I did still have some, and I really like this pattern with the birch trees. I just love birch trees. So I'm going to use this as a layer. And this is at 5 by 3 3/4. Now you could easily just use a different piece of DSP behind. I just love this one and wanted to use some of it up. Okay, so we have that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add this branch greenery. So this comes, like I said, from the Pinecone dies that are also in the mini. So they're rather large. So this is the very detailed one that we're using. And it also has these pine cones. So you have the base and the overlay. And then you have another image as well that you can use with some smaller pine cones. So for the card that we're doing, I used this particular portion of the die, and I used the pine cone dies as well. So what I did on a piece of evening evergreen, I added an adhesive sheet on the back, and then I ran that die through the die cutting machine. So it fits right on this layer. You're going to run it through, and then this is what's going to come out. So now for my card, I didn't want to use the whole piece as a background. I suppose you could if you wanted. I just wanted a little sort of sprig of it here on the one side. So what I did is I just kind of looked at it and decided, which parts would I like? And so what I decided was I think I will use probably this little portion here. So I'm just going to cut that out, and I'm going to try to cut around as best I can so I can use the remaining ones on a different project, but I am going to snip this piece here and just cut this off, and then I can save the rest for another project or another card like we're doing, but we'll just use this piece for later. Okay, so I'm left with this, and so what I'm going to do is try to peel this off. Now, there's going to be some little bits attached. This is probably the most finicky part, is getting this off of here. So I'm just going to start by trying to get the excess border pieces out of the way. And you can just sort of gently tear around by not ripping the actual branches. Some of it should come away fairly easy. Okay, so now what I'm going to try is to remove this from the sheet. And if your fingernails aren't long enough, take your pick tool or the end of some scissors. Oh, that was an extra piece we don't need. And I'm going to just gently try to remove this. Now, some of those little cutout bits may not come, so we're going to have to poke those out by hand. But they have cut through, so they should come off fairly easily. The only thing is it's all very sticky. So you're going to find you've got little bits stuck to you. Okay, so these ones here, I'm just going to take your pick tool and pop those out. And when I do take off my adhesive sheet in full, hopefully some of those little bits will come off. And like I said, you've got all these little bits stuck to your fingers. Oh my gosh, okay. So let's try to get a few more of these, and then we're going to try to take this off. I'm going to just cut this little one off because I'm going to add that later. I'll just put this aside here for now because I am going to use that. Okay, so the adhesive sheet is off already. It's just a matter of getting some of these little bits out. Like I said, this is sort of the piddly part, but they should pop out fairly easily. And the look of how detailed this is after is really, really pretty. If you like pine branches or fir branches, I think they add a lot to a card. So I don't mind taking a little bit of time just to try to get these pieces out. Yeah, some of them stick on the back. It's not so bad. You don't necessarily see them all. Okay, so that's pretty good. I think I've got a lot of them. Some of them, like I say, have stuck to the back, so we'll just sort of pull those off. And then I think we're pretty good. So there you go. There's the piece of the pine branch that we're going to use. Okay, so I'm going to bring back our base, and so you're going to decide, which way do I want these branches to go? So I think I'm just going to put mine down at an angle like this, and because of the adhesive sheet, you can just gently give that a press down and it should stick to your paper, to your DSP. It saves the mess of trying to get some adhesive or liquid glue on the back, although that, you know, can be done if you don't have the adhesive sheets, and you would just, you know, use your glue sparingly so it doesn't seep out. And that will be my branch. Now I have this other one that I had cut off, and I'm just gonna attach this over, maybe over here, so it's, you know, still part of the branch, and it'll sort of fill this corner a little bit. Okay, so now we can add some of our other pieces. So I don't know if you can tell here, but in this die, it kind of has the pine cone impressions here. So this is where we are going to add some pine cones right on top of these here. So I used the dies to cut out my pine cones. So I've got 2 small ones and a larger one. And the base I cut out of Sahara sand, and the overlays I attached an adhesive sheet and cut those out of early espresso. So what you're going to do is you're just, like usual, you're going to peel off this backer here and just put that on top of your pine cone base here. And it should line up fairly well to give you that extra dimension on your pine cone. And so we'll do our second one. And put that on top so that lines up. And then we have our large one. So these adhesive sheets are great for these little pieces here when they're so detailed. So you're just gonna line that up and give those a little press down. So there we go. Okay, get rid of some of this before I spill it all over my floor. Okay, so I have my 3 pine cones. Now I'm going to put them on top here, and I'm just going to use regular adhesive for that. So the small one will go on top of the small, like so. And we will put the other small one here, and the branches do sort of line up, so it covers that green there. And then our large one. So we will put this one on top of the pinecone image over here. Kind of like so. Okay, so there are the pine cones. You can see that. So now I wanted to add our bird. So for that, I took the bird stamp and I stamped it in Memento Black on a piece of basic white cardstock, and then I just colored him in. So the colors I used, and you could make your bird any colors, but I used the light and dark blends of the real red, the dark pumpkin pie, and the dark soft suede. But if you wanted to color your bird a different color, I like the red because I just love how that pops up on the card. So there isn't a die to cut him out, so he's just cut out freehand, which really didn't take very long to do. And then I'm going to attach him with some dimensionals. he will pop up, and maybe I'll put just a little one on his tail. Okay. Okay, so now you can decide where you would like to put him. So I'm going to sit him on this branch here. So some of my pine cones still, no, you could put him here on this branch, but then his tail would hang over. So let's just put him on this branch here. I could put him a little bit higher, even if some of the pine cones are covered. So he will go there. And then our greeting, there are some really nice greetings in here. Wishing you your family health and happiness throughout the coming year. I just did Noel. And for this, what I did is I just stamped it in early espresso on the Sahara Sand cardstock, and then I just freehand cut around the letters. So I just wanted a small sort of greeting like that. And then I'm just gonna pop this up with some minis. And then I may trim down a couple. Like our minis aren't mini enough, but I think what I'm going to do is just take a small piece here, maybe from the edge. And then I'm just going to cut that edge in half. And then maybe in half again. Now this is kind of piddly, but I wanted a little bit of adhesive on some of these letters here so they don't sort of wobble around and get caught. So just like that, and then maybe just a little piece here. Not, try for it to not show. And then just a little one over here. Okay, so those don't really peek over too much on the other side. And I think those are good. And then we will just put our Noel up here at the top. Or if you want it at the bottom, you could do that too. And there is your card using the Happy Holidays stamp set. So I hope you enjoyed that project. It's a fairly simple one. I do have a host code for November, which I'll just grab here for you. So if you're interested, you can visit my website at christineludwig.stampinup.net. Host code for November, CV3VXW3W. You're welcome to use that at checkout. And also feel free to visit me on Facebook, Pinterest, and my new YouTube channel at Christine Stamping Spot. And while you're over at YouTube, if you care to subscribe to my channel, that would be awesome. It's free to subscribe. You just have to click on that subscribe button. So I hope you enjoyed that Noel project, and we will see you again next week. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.